This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. Welcome to Inside the Jungle, your podcast for discussing all things Auburn basketball related. I am your co-host, Chandler, and I'm joined with my co-host, Jase Phillips. Jase, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, Chandler. How about yourself?
Jase, I couldn't be better. I spent all day with a bunch of crazy 8th graders, so I couldn't be better right now. But let's go ahead and get started talking about some Auburn basketball. We've got a bunch of different things to discuss. We got the first 2 or 3 games coming up. We got
Media Day.
We got Pro Day. We got Jabari and Walker's NBA debut, and then they faced each other last night. Just a whole load of stuff. So, Chance Westry's surgery.
Yep.
What else am I forgetting? Anything?
I think that's about it. It's exciting. It's getting close. It's hard to believe that the first, the preseason game starts next week, and then, everything else is pretty right there soon to follow.
Yes. And mentioning the preseason game, we'll go ahead and start with that. We play University of Alabama Huntsville, obviously from Huntsville, Alabama, in our exhibition game on, I believe, November 2nd.
Yes, next Wednesday.
And, Jase, what do you know about UAH?
Yeah, so UAH, they had a pretty good record last year. I believe they either finished 24-11 or 23-11. So pretty solid record. They're returning their 2 leading scorers. C.J. Williamson, he averaged 17 points a game last year. He'll be a senior on this year's roster. And Chaney Johnson, who is, I believe, from Thompson High School, averaged 16.8 points a game last year. One of those being a guard and one of those being a big man, I believe. And so they're returning their 2 leading scorers. And so, while they do have those 2 players, but we should be a game that hopefully we can start off looking good. But definitely think it's a team that could maybe give us a little bit of a challenge, which is good for an exhibition game.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to play an in-state school in the exhibition. I believe last year we played the University of North Alabama,
yes.
UNA. Because I've got a kid that went to high school with me that plays point guard for UNA, and so I think that's right. But so it's encouraging, and I'm glad to see Bruce playing other in-state teams.
Yes, I definitely agree. I think it's good, and I think just seeing UAH's record from last year, I think it just shows how the state of Alabama is just, becoming more and more of a basketball state. Even though that team on the other side of the state hadn't been doing so well as far as postseason goes. But
Jase, I mean, we don't need to talk down on UAB. UAB's. They're poor things. They are the second best team in the state, and
that is true.
We got South Alabama down south, the third best team probably, and then Troy, and I think that covers about all the major teams in our state.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and move on talking about our second game versus George Mason. It's funny how we're playing George Mason. I mean, it's not funny. It's crazy how I think back. I think it was like 2006 when they made their Final Four run.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I think about when I think of George Mason. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. I think that Bruce loves to schedule these mid-major programs that have a history of making the tournament and doing well in the tournament, making these runs. And just looking at George Mason's record from last year, they did finish under 500. However, looking back at their games, they defeated ranked Maryland by 5. They defeated Georgia by 13 at Georgia. And then they also only lost by 7 to the national champions, Kansas. So I think that just goes to show you that even though their record was not great, they are a very competitive ball club it's going to challenge us early, and they are returning their leading scorer from last year, Joshua Duro, who will be a challenge to defend early on.
Yeah, I'm excited for that game. I really am. Being the first regular season game, and like you said, I think it'll be quite the challenge. But the first thing I think about with George Mason is who was the Jim Larinaga? Was he the coach?
I believe that's right.
And he's at Miami now, isn't he?
Yeah.
So that's kind of ironic how the last team we faced last year that we lost to in the tournament was Miami, and then we open up this year with George Mason.
Yeah.
So just a little correlation there, but that's pretty interesting.
Definitely.
So, anything else about USF?
I think that's it for George Mason, but USF is our next opponent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's it for George Mason. But USF, we went down there and played in Tampa last year.
We did. Well, we showed up. We played a little bit.
Yeah,
enough to win, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. I don't know how much we played, like you said, but we showed up, and they took us to the dadgum wire. I remember listening to that game on my way somewhere, and, buddy, they took us to the wire.
They did.
And I was looking at their season record. They went 8-23 last year. 8 wins and 23 losses. 3 wins and 15 losses in conference play. So they really were not that good of a team.
They weren't. I think that just goes to show you that, basketball, it's just the type of sport you've got to be ready to play on any given night. You just never know who's going to be hot. If you're not shooting well, you're liable to lose or come down to the wire on any night.
Yeah, I'm excited about them coming up here to play us here in Auburn at I'm going to get it right this time, Neville Arena. Just really excited for the opportunity to get to play them. They return their third leading scorer, Jameer Chaplin, is his name, and he is actually from Norcross, Georgia, Meadow Creek High School. So I don't know how we missed or didn't get in on him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe because he had been a walk-on on our team.
Maybe.
But quite the opportunity at hand, and just an opportunity to play another Power 5 school, a bigger school with some basketball, some basketball. Or I would say history, but I don't really know how much history USF has.
No, I'm not sure.
But just a good opportunity. Am I thinking totally off the rocks, or was Todd Golden at USF? Or do you know?
No, I believe Todd Golden came from San Francisco.
Well, I know he went to San Francisco after Auburn, and then he went to Florida. But where I want to say he came from USF to come to Auburn.
Yeah.
I'm not positive about that. I could be totally off about that. But that's just a thought that crossed my head. But what are we going to talk about next, Jase?
I think we're going to talk a little bit about Media Day. I know that Wendell Green and Jalen Williams both went with Bruce to Media Day. And this is Bruce's 9th season. It seems like it's flown by, but at the same time, it doesn't. But Bruce, he kind of just, went on to say how, we've got 13 really good players, and, 5 players might play one day, and then a different 5 might look better the next day. And I think that just goes to show you the depth that's on this team, and the that theme of depth that's kind of, been the case the last several years. And I think that's just a testament to what Bruce is doing with this program. I think Wendell Green, he talked a lot about, stepping up as a leader this year, coming in last year as a transfer and still kind of an underclassman and learning how things work and kind of getting in the groove of things. He said he's starting to feel more calm, collected, relaxed, and just ready to step up as a leader on this team this year. And I think that's just huge, because I think when you look back at that Final Four team and you look at Jared Harper, that point guard has got to be a leader on the team. And so it will be huge for Wendell to step up and fill that role this year. And then Jalen Williams, coming in, being an upperclassman, being a leader. He talked about that, being so important to him, and, how he's waited his turn, and how, it hadn't always been easy, but he stayed ready, and now it's starting to pay off. And so I'm just excited to see those two guys, improve this year, and just to kind of see them step up as two leaders on this team.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think, and it's funny how you mentioned Wendell Green. Something that I have wondered about is who, and I guess I may be assuming wrong, but it sounds like you think Wendell will start at point. And I think options may be Wendell Green, Zep Jasper, Trey Donaldson. I'm interested who starts at point guard.
Yes, definitely. I agree. And an interesting name you just said is Trey Donaldson. Auburn actually had a secret scrimmage with UAB this past week, defeating UAB 83-69. And, UAB is, they are a team that's liable to make the tournament year in and year out. And so I think that's a really big win. And it really shows a lot about about where we're going. And just looking at those stats, Trey Donaldson was the leading scorer as far as guards goes. He had 11 points. No other guard scored in double digits in that game. So I thought that was really impressive. Name that also stuck out in that game to me was Chris Moore. He had 13 points and 10 rebounds, a double-double in that game. Janai Broome had 19 points and 8 rebounds, and Jalen Williams had 10 points and 6 rebounds. So seeing Chris Moore, I really think you're going to see him a lot this year step up into a role that, he wasn't necessarily able to fill last year due to injury and things like that. But I think you're really going to see him step up. And another reason why I feel like you'll see Wendell maybe start out at point guard this year is because Zep has been dealing with some injuries. And speaking of injuries, Chance Westry, tell us a little bit about that injury.
Well, I know, what was it, about 2 weeks ago? He underwent arthroscopic knee surgery, and from everything I've heard, he seems to be recovering pretty well. But fascinating about his surgery was the fact that head coach Bruce Pearl underwent surgery with him. They took a picture right before they went under the knife, and there they were sitting there together in their chair, all grins. Yep. So I thought that was awesome that Bruce was willing to, I guess, undergo the surgery with his player, and just everything that goes along with that. I just feel like it really built, it really built trust with your program and with your coach when they can go through something like that with you.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a player's coach, and that's something that is not only huge for Chance and for their relationship, but I think that's huge for recruits that we're trying to get right now, that they see just how much of a player's coach BP can be. Looking at Pro Day, just reading a few notes on that and kind of keeping up with how that went. I did read that KD Johnson, his shot did seem to be a little more consistent. Last year, KD, he was liable to go off any game, and he might go off one game, and then the next game, just kind of be off, and then the next game he might score 25, and then the next game not even get 10. So that consistency in his shot I feel like is really important. I did read that Wendell is still looking like the best shooter on the team, but I think the biggest thing as far as shooting goes for this team is just the consistency, and making sure that when one person's down, the other one's ready to go.
The star player in the scrimmage on Pro Day, I thought was noteworthy, and I'm expecting him to be our leading scorer this year. No other than Chandler Leopard, walk on, I should say, Chandler Leopard. He scored 14 points, went 5 of 5 from the field, 2 of 2 from the 3-point line, and 2 of 2 from the free throw line. So perfection, shooting wise. And he also had 5 rebounds.
Yeah.
So quite the day for Chandler Leopard. And it makes me wonder, do we kind of expect like a Leroy Berman role from him this year? Is he kind of the notable walk-on?
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely, shows you. And I'm pretty sure, I don't remember if it was Wendell or Zepp, but I remember reading the quote somewhere that, Chandler Leopard, a lot of the days, he's the best shooter in the gym, and that he can go toe-to-toe with anybody from the three-point line. And so I definitely think that, Chandler could be a guy that, if we get guys in foul trouble, he's somebody that could come in and give us a few minutes. And so I think, that performance is definitely noteworthy. And once again, Trey Donaldson, he's scoring in double digits. He had 10 points and shot 50% from the field and was 2 for 3 from the 3-point line. KD, he had double digits with 13 points. It was not the best game from Wendell Green. He was 1 for 11 from the field with just 3 points. But like I said, when Wendell's on, he's on. He's got the best shot on the team. But that consistency is something that, we're hoping to see improve this year from a few players.
Yeah, and just looking at the stat line right here, it does not seem like Alan Flanagan had the best day. Kind of seems like he kind of returned to last year's self. I know we had talked about in our last episode how in Israel, Alan Flanagan looked pretty good.
He did.
But he went 2 of 13 from the field, 1 of 5 from the 3-point line. One positive is he did go 4 of 4 from the free throw line. But just kind of, I'm hoping that's just kind of an off day for Allen, and that he may be, and hopefully he can contribute in a major factor this year, and be one of the team's best players, like he has the potential to be.
Yeah, I agree. And like you just said, Alan Flanagan going 4 for 4 from the free throw line. I think that, that's great. And looking at the other people from the free throw line in the scrimmage, we shot 82% in the Pro Day game from the free throw line, which I think that just speaks very highly of this team from the free throw line, and that'll be very important. Free throws, they can win or lose you games, and so being able to hit free throws down the stretch in games, it's one of the most important parts of a good team and a team that can win consistently.
Yeah, and Allen actually is just recently getting back from a leave of absence from the team. It's not really known what this leave of absence was for, whether it was family problems or what the reason is, but we are glad to see Alan Flanagan back with the team, and hopefully he has a rejuvenated spirit and is ready to help out and ready to contribute to the team.
Definitely. And like you mentioned, Chandler Leopard being perfect from the field. Let's look at the debut of Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith. Walker Kessler, he was 100% from the field in his debut, and I believe he had a double-double, is that right?
Yeah, he had a double-double in his debut with the Utah Jazz. And and Jabari also had his debut with the Atlanta Hawks. And
You mean the Houston Rockets?
I'm sorry, with the Houston Rockets, but they played at the Atlanta Hawks. I know there was quite a few Auburn students that made the hour-and-a-half journey up I-85 to go watch that game. And I saw multiple pictures with Auburn students and Auburn coaches and Jabari's family, and I just thought it was really awesome that he played his first NBA game this close to Auburn. And not only this close to Auburn, but he's from Georgia, from the Atlanta area. So getting to play that first ever NBA game that close to his home, that close to his college, it had to be special.
Yes, it definitely had to be. And I believe Jabari, he posted a pretty good number for his debut as well.
I think he had I want to say 17 points in his debut. Let's see here. Jabari Smith, 17 points and 7 rebounds, 3 of 11 from the three-point line. Sounds like he was shooting the ball a lot. 6 of 17 from the field, played 33 minutes. But I think 17 and 7 is a good debut overall. So and quite encouraging to hear about that. Also, recently, I think last night, we are recording this on Tuesday, October 25th, and I think Monday, October 24th, Jabari and Walker actually played each other in a game that the Houston Rockets won 114 to 108. And Jabari was the one that pretty much sealed the game for the Rockets.
Yeah. Jabari finished with just short of a rebound from having a double-double. He had 21 points and 9 rebounds. And like Chandler said, sealing the game with those free throws. And how about giving Houston their first win on the year and giving Walker and the Utah Jazz their first loss on the year?
Yeah, I thought that was a really ironic fun thing that happened. Also, I think Walker Kessler played 8 minutes, and he scored, or he did not score.
No, he had a rebound. But one thing I will say about Walker is that he is really protecting the rim so far. He's had several highlights I've seen. He's getting several blocks. And just 4 games, I believe he's had a decent amount of blocks already. I know one game he had a few blocks right there back to back, several big highlight plays his first few games.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stat line, and I had no clue that one of Walker's teammates is Colin Sexton from the University of East Mississippi. I'm sorry, the University of Alabama. Some people refer to it as East Mississippi. But I didn't know that Colin Sexton was one of his teammates. But just that's some fun facts for Auburn in the pros. Anything else about Auburn in the pros?
No, I don't think so. I think Chuma had one pretty decent game in the first 4 games. I believe it might have been the second game. He posted some pretty good numbers. But I know that right now he's still, he's coming off the bench, giving some quality minutes when the Magic need it. But other than that, I think that's about it.
Okay. Well, I believe we have discussed every topic that we set out to. We have discussed Chance Westry's knee surgery. We have discussed Auburn in the pros. We've discussed Auburn's pro day.
Media day.
Auburn's secret scrimmage versus UAB. A little bit of a preview of the first 3 games. So I feel like we've discussed quite a bit here. Quite a wide array of topics. But I think unless Jase, you have anything else, that'll do it for this time on Inside the Jungle. Thank you for listening, and we hope you will join us back. We should be recording again in about 2 weeks. So hope you will join us to listen again in 2 weeks. Thank you for listening, and War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.